Hey, how goes it? Ken Bozak here to talk about Bitcoin and Bitcoin accessories. And today I'm streaming with strangers. Well, not so much a stranger. I'm streaming with my bro, Mars Robertson. We've met online and we partied in Portugal at Anarcha, Portugal with the decentralized dance party. How goes it, bro?
Hey, it's been amazing. The energy, the to see you online is such an honor, such a pleasure. And yes, today is such a beautiful day in London. I'm sitting in my garden. It's actually a bank holiday just before the Easter, so everything is smooth, everything is good, everything in the flow.
I heard it rains a lot in London, but the skies look pretty clear and beautiful.
Exactly. Like, raining is a default situation. So when you have a sunny day like today, it should be compulsory. It should be required by law. Even though I'm no complete freedom and anarchy. But if there is a weather like this, it is just a natural state to be outside.
Yeah, no, and I'm jealous of the vitamin D you're getting right now. I don't get much sunlight here in New Jersey, but why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience a little bit? Let them know who you are, maybe a little bit of your background, and maybe how you got into cryptocurrency and what you're doing now in the industry.
Yeah, sure. So this will be a live story in 60 seconds. I'm originally from Central Europe. I got a degree in computer science. I was always working as a programmer. 2011, I moved to
Nerd.
London. Uh, yeah, I mean, most of the people have a job of one type or another, and knowing how to write code is actually a useful thing these days. I actually started from online marketing, Google AdWords, and Facebook ads,
Oh shit.
but very often I was promoting stuff that is completely worthless, pointless, with no morals and no ethics. And I realized that building stuff is actually more rewarding, and I'm acting
Respect.
more aligned uh, with my core values. And recently, 2017, I started working with Ethereum, blockchain, Solidity. It was it was a crazy ride. This energy in the space, 2017 was truly incredible. 2018 was a bear market. I wish I
Yeah.
was trend is your friend, not hodl, but if there is a recession and the bear market, take some profits at the top. And uh, I wish I was better at trading and managing my money. So made some money, lost pretty much everything, and now I am, beginning of yet another cycle, having skills as a programmer. I am actually started recently a new proper corporate job, which is only temporary. It is just a time to get some breath, get some break, and after 2 years of total craziness, having a boring, stable corporate job is amazing. It is. I feel so happy and I'm so grateful. And actually, I am okay with that. I am very proud of my new place. And the best is my job title, innovation engineer. And during the interview, I was telling them about all my crazy crypto projects. So it is a good place to be.
And you're an innovation engineer. Holy shit, man! I think you're a pioneer. Is that not a first of its kind?
Uh, I'm I'm not sure. I've just started. I'm still getting established in this new environment. In principle, every large company, they are. It's like this paradox. If you are innovating too much, you are cannibalizing your existing product. So it's a constant battle between using existing business models that are working versus investing in R&D and some experiments on the side. So I am on this pioneer innovation experiments.
Mm.
We do not have many constraints. Everyone in the company receives a classic Windows corporate laptop, Windows, Lenovo. But our team, we are all operating on MacBooks, and we are just a very independent environment. So this is my life story in the 2 minutes. And why don't you introduce yourself for people who don't know you from your other videos?
Yeah, me. I'm a big Bitcoin enthusiast. I think Bitcoin's more than just a currency, or blockchain's more than just a technology. It's sort of like a lifestyle in a sense where you can opt out of the mainstream monopolized corporate, world of fiat, and live in a more peer-to-peer communal sense of a decentralized, censorship resist, like all the
Mm,
buzzwords really did appeal to me in that sense. Like, everything that, is the ICO catchphrases, pitches of, like, being a public ledger that's decentralized, that's immutable. I was like, that is just amazing. It's amazing. So I'm actually all in. I've been living all in, 100% on crypto for over a year and a half now. I only accept crypto as payment for what I do when I work, and I only try my best to spend crypto when I can, or I interact with exchanges like Bitrefill, and I get Uber Eats, gift cards and stuff like that, or the Monarch wallet, and I can sell some Bitcoin if I need to pay my rent in cash. But I hold all of my money, 100% of my savings, my net worth in Bitcoin. And I have like one Litecoin, one Dash, one this, one that, just to have one of
uh-huh.
them. But I hold everything in Bitcoin. And I'm just a true believer of it as a disruptive technology meets currency. I think the whole, like, Andreas Antonopoulos' Internet of Money spiel is like totally like the revelations of currency of this, if it was a religion. It's insane. It's a movement. This is
Mm.
why I went to Portugal and hung out with you, and had the decentralized dance party and everything. This is like a renaissance, and I'm just enjoying the ride. It's not a war. Everybody thinks we're at war. This is a renaissance. We should celebrate. We should embrace the evolution and just have a party and a good time, along the ride.
What you say is inspiring. This is like, wow, a reason, a purpose, a mission, a commitment. The way how I see Bitcoin is internet is a revolutionary technology. The internet changes everything. And the Bitcoin is called the internet of money.
Yep.
The book by Andreas is called Internet of Money. And the internet changes so many, it's just like all the humans on the planet instantly connected, instantly, boom. And it was around 30 years from the CERN, the Tim Berners-Lee, the first internet to now, and that was the 30 years. And now we have the singularity and exponential technologies. Facebook and iPhone, it was Web 2.0, social media,
Yep.
how we interact as humans, how our relationships are
And
shaping.
then we connect
Now,
all of that.
and now we have a Bitcoin, which is an invention comparable to telephone, electricity, or the internet. And now I know I'm preaching to the choir, but I
I
completely
think I
understand.
compare Bitcoin and blockchain more to the printing press than the internet itself. And you know what's funny? You're a developer. Maybe you would appreciate this analogy. Sometimes people ask me about Bitcoin, and they're kind of, nerdy developer type people. So I have a different way of explaining it to different people. Know your audience, so to speak. And I say, kind of like, imagine if there was only a limited number of HTML5 code that could ever be written, ever. And that HTML5 code is what you use to build projects on the internet. Well, if that code is finite in resource, people would accumulate that code to do things with, or speculate with, the ability to do it on the internet. Well, now I can use fractions of HTML5 code to buy eggs, bread, and milk. And like, some of the developers kind of get the concept of like programmable money being fractional in amount of a, a deflationary currency format, where it's, and the whole concept of being able to have something, send it, and not have a way to copy it, like piracy. You can't really do Bitcoin piracy. I can't file share my Bitcoin.
Uh-huh. Well, you mentioned now this digital scarcity and the pure supply and demand. The supply is limited. On the other hand, the supply of the government printing money is there's no upper limit. So just the pure supply and demand tells very clearly what will be the value of the Bitcoin. And now there is the question, is Bitcoin here to stay? And I have a theory that sooner humanity will go into extinction and there will be some Bitcoin nodes, some off the grid, solar powered with the blockstream satellites. Like this is my bet. We will know in 10 million years who will survive, humanity or Bitcoin. And my bets are on Bitcoin. So we've seen already a few cycles, this a few logarithmic scales. We can probably agree that Bitcoin is here to stay, and sooner or later it will reach a few orders of magnitude higher than currently. And what I enjoy is that it is just you got me excited. The way how you expressed your mission, what you do, what is your purpose. I think that promoting cryptocurrencies, decentralization, trustless society, that now rather say there is the Ministry of Finance, and us citizens, we have very little insight. Where is this money going? Maybe they have some oversight and audit once a year. There's some session in the parliament, but for regular citizens, we have absolutely zero knowledge. Where is this money going? Where is this money coming from?
Yep.
Who gets which department has deeper pockets and which lobbyist shouts more louder? If we had the full blockchain transparency, we could audit the government. We could see that actually this money comes from selling arms to Syrian or Saudi Arabia. And why would I?
Well, that's why they don't want the embracement of this, right? It throws a big wrench in their machine that they have built. It's kind of, and that's like Bitcoin's biggest flaw, right? It is disruptive to the point that it has every enemy. It doesn't have just pharmaceutical. It doesn't just have currency. It doesn't just have security. It has every enemy that you can name because it is disrupting everybody's business model, because it's no longer a business model of how much can a company take from you. It'll be an opt-in business model of how much can a company give back to you so they can accumulate more optional customers, because they can't force people to use their shitcoin.
Mm, yeah, I'm actually thinking that there are some pilot programs. There was some Caribbean state, I don't remember the name, the first nation state to issue their government crypto. There are other pilots like this. I'm a big fan
Venezuela?
of.
I
Yeah,
think
they
it's
have
called
the.
Petro.
Yeah, I can just let's do a quick Google search. Like, why not?
Yeah,
I'm actually.
I think Venezuela created the Petro coin. That was, I think, the first government like issued currency that was in that way,
Okay.
but
Yep.
they did a really shady ICO, I believe, from what I heard. I never really paid much mind to it, but I don't think anybody in Venezuela currently uses it or owns any of it or anything. I think they're mostly actually using Dash. So shout out to the Dash crew.
Mm-hmm. Well, I will definitely do more research on that. The point is, if the governments are uh, implementing crypto, and also if governments are legalizing cannabis across the globe. I mention cannabis because your audience is cannabis friendly, and I know your involvement in the space. I am in Europe. Like I am in Europe, so I can provide you some insight about Europe. In Europe, there is a Portugal which introduced a revolutionary drug policy laws in the 90s, and they just observed a massive improvement across the across the scale. So the Portugal was the first one. And then we have the Czech Republic, which also delegalized. Then we have Netherlands and world famous Amsterdam. And sometimes they just change the law slightly so that you cannot buy it unless you are a resident, but you can still buy cannabis everywhere. Then there are some special districts. Say in Copenhagen, there is the district Christiana, which is like a hippie district. Again, cannabis is legal. In Barcelona, you have cannabis social clubs. Cannabis is legal. In the United Kingdom, there are a few boroughs, a few states where the chief constabulary of the police says, we are not chasing minor drug offenses. So this. If you have a Portugal, Czech Republic, Netherlands, Catalonia, and Barcelona, and you have UK, and you have now out of the sudden, people who are living under the rock say, actually, I had the cannabis as a child, student, as a young person, or I know someone who uses cannabis, and they are normal people. So now you have this solid foundation, and now talking about cannabis is okay. Also, there is so much scientific research. Pretty much every illegal compound, whether it is LSD, MDMA, psilocybin, ketamine, DMT, has been widely researched by the array of academics because these are controlled substances. There is a lot of red tape.
Well, because cannabis is a Schedule 1 narcotic, there's so much more red tape. Because they literally say it has absolutely no medical benefits. So it's so much harder.
It is, I would say this is disgraceful.
It is.
It is disgraceful. At the same time, I just want to play a role of a devil's advocate that drugs can have negative consequences too.
So can McDonald's.
Totally, absolutely. I totally agree. And if we had the choice, freedom, and education, if we had a reliable source of information and a reliable supply that is a quality, not adulterated. I was recently, this is from the book American Kingpin about Ross Ulbricht, Dread Pirate Roberts, Silk Road. I went through the rabbit hole because unfortunately, this guy left a lot of traces on the internet. He ran the Silk Road for a few years and he left loads of evidence behind him. So the FBI, CIA, NSA, everyone, DEA, Interpol, everyone was able to find this evidence, and I actually saw some of this evidence. I also read the original court documents, original court judgments, original verdicts of the judge. And he was an amazing guy, and I just am showing full support to Ross Ulbricht. I really want to.
I got my poster right there.
Nice. Free Ross.
Somebody's having a good day. They're out there cruising.
Oh yes, exactly. Sorry about the noise.
No, it's live. It's real.
Yeah, I am a real person, and I've just mentioned that the drug laws are changing in Europe. They are changing in the US. They are changing in Canada.
Well, what does that mean though, right? Because that's disruptive, right? That disrupts a lot of laws that are put in place and things that exist around those laws, and then it creates new laws and new things that are created. So now there's going to be regulations and taxes and probably 5 different type of middlemen just from the point of the weed being grown to the cannabis being consumed.
This will be many, I would say, parallel industries. The whole paraphernalia, the pipes, the rolling papers, and the special type of music, and the special type of food, and the special type of headphones. You could have a brand who is catering only for cannabis users, and you will target 20% of a total addressable population. And and it will grow. And yes, I am. I want to also emphasize that there are some negative effects of drugs. The people, I am the example. I want to tell that I am guilty. That at some point, my social relationships were not perfect. That I was so much in my head. I was a complete narcissist. I thought that my point of view is the best. I thought that I'm hanging out with cool people. I'm going to fancy conferences. I'm listening to valuable podcasts, and I thought that my body of knowledge and my status, that I am like the most knowledgeable guy in the room. And I'm actually realizing that I was a little bit delusional. That I have a much more understanding about myself and about the nature of the reality, the nature of the universe, the nature of the government. The government, I think it's a magical that we actually that the say US has 300,000 employees in their system. So to run the 350 million or whatever amount, to run an operation at such a scale, what is the largest corporation? Maybe it's a China Railway, 4 million employees, or I don't know, Google has 100,000. Like, to manage a complexity of such a scale is incredible. And I was to Anarchapulco twice. I was to Anarcha Portugal. I'm 100% freedom, liberty, make decisions for yourself. At the same time, I am just fascinating that at some level, people gather into communities, they gather into tribes, they have some elders, that I believe that at some fundamental level, from this initial chaos, anarchy, and like a complete decentralization, at some point people will think, I am a very reputable guy. I've been to so many projects. Like, you can see my contributions on GitHub. Like, see, I've published 5,000 lines of code across 10 different projects. I've submitted 23 issues. I participate in the Slack channel.
Okay, quit bragging. You're making me feel like an underachiever already.
Well, I wasn't talking about me. I'm just a no one. I'm actually started with this new name. This is my new online identity, Mars Robertson.
Well, nice to meet you, Mars Robertson.
Nice to meet you, sir.
Well, it sounds like you're talking about what would be the difference between hubris and ego, right? And sometimes if you feed your ego a little bit, you can become narcissistic and it's toxic. But sometimes having strong hubris and self confidence is a good thing in its own too. But you brought up something too at the end there that I wanted you to maybe touch on, where what would you say the difference between governance and governments are?
I'm sorry, there was a little connectivity issue. Can you please say that again?
I was wondering if you could explain the difference between governance and government.
Wow. At some level, I think that people want to protect their private property. Maybe I'm not answering your question directly, but I brought the subject of, I'm actually fascinated that the government is able to manage 400 million people.
Right.
It is just incredible complexity. So difference between the government and the governance. I would like to protect my private property. I would like to protect my family. I would like to have my own sovereignty. And at some level, I just don't want to invest into my guns. I don't want to invest into more fierce security system and automated infrared, ultraviolet, alarms. I would say that at some level, I would like to have some protection. And the role of the government is actually to protect the weak. That very often I see that they are trying to protect the weakest people in the society, because those who are smart, they will make money, they will run their own businesses, they will be very well off even without the government. So very often what I see that the government provides the minimal sustenance, for homeless, for people with sicknesses, for elderly. So in that way, I can understand the role of the government, and the governance is say, I have a, say we have the company, there's a 10 guys working with us, and of course we can say that everyone is equal, but sometimes it's good to have a leader, someone who is the CEO, signing the deals, telling the strategy, motivating people, the leader. And I don't have all the answers. In fact, I have all the questions.
Same.
I love the Anarcho-Pulco, Anarcho-Portugal. This is exactly my crowd. At the same time, I prefer the word voluntarism, where everything is voluntary, freedom,
Yes.
liberty, rather than anarchy, because I still see anarchy as a bit chaotic, organized, and unsure who is in charge. And if we don't have a one leader, how do we manage this in the decentralized DAO way?
I've always thought that anarchy in its own nature to be sustainable requires people to be voluntarist. Otherwise, it does not become sustainable. Eventually, it ends. It just ends, right? There is nothing at the end of anarchy. But if people choose optionally to help their neighbors and neighbors that help them in return and become more communal in contributions, then anarchy works out. And to be in a voluntarist society, I think it also, again, requires a little bit of anarchy to make sure it doesn't fall into a government format. So it's like an ever changing consensus where the percentage isn't always 51% or 80%. It's always weighing. It's always changing. It's a live consensus. It's something that hasn't existed yet because there was no technology that would support that concept of a self-governing society, but we have it now, and it's only a matter of time until we implement it, or inevitably we end up in a Mad Max world. But I think, going towards the Mad Max concept, I did want to talk a little bit about the ICOs and some of the topics here. So I think I'll kick it off, with talking about maybe the first ICO that ever got our attention, or we ever invested in, or anything like that. And I think for me, my first ICO that besides Ethereum, the first ICO I think I really paid attention to and caught my attention was Game Credits ICO for Mobile Go token. And the only reason it really caught my attention, check this out, Mars. They did an ICO on Ethereum blockchain, and they had tokens issued on the Waves blockchain. So if you had the tokens moving from Ethereum to Waves, they would just put some on ice, right, in an escrow. So the supply was always one number, but say 21 million tokens on Ethereum, 21 million tokens on Waves, but depending on how many were in circulating supply from the other, there would only be 21 million altogether. And it always bounced. I was like, that was pretty interesting that they did this. ICOs are pretty interesting on their own, and then they did this ICO where they used two separate blockchains and had this concept of if you move from here to Waves or Waves to there, it takes some puts it basically on ice and out of the supply. I was just really into it, but I don't think they did anything. I don't think any ICO did, but yeah, nothing ever came of the ICO I invested in. There was supposed to be a game store and blockchain apps and nothing. So, what was your first ICO? What do you think about the ICO markets?
Wow, that is, how much time do we have? Okay, my first ICO was a mistake. And the second one was a mistake. And I was actually for this some time I was participating in the various ICO bounty campaigns. I was shilling random projects on my social media, and then I was reporting, like a spreadsheet. Here is the tweet. Here is the link to that. I received some of the random crypto tokens. and it was super easy money just participating in these bounties. Unfortunately,
Respect.
I've missed the boat of launching my own. I've also hold it. When I should hold until it reaches the moon, I sold too early, and then when I was holding for so long, it went down to zero. So if I was terrible at managing money, I was terrible at investing, I was terrible at pretty much everything. I've made every single mistake in the book 3 times, and that is why I am actually going back to work. I told you about my new job, innovation engineer. I'm very proud of it, and I'm actually I'm still working on Solidity, Ethereum, blockchain, smart contracts. One very notable and reputable ICO that I'm actually supporting, and this is not a shameless plug. This is something I'm very proud of. I'm working, helping, testing. Is called Kleros, decentralized justice. There is a
Decentralized
pilot project.
justice. I like it.
Yeah, decentralized dispute resolution, because hey, you make trades online, you like an eBay or Alibaba. Like, why would you use employees of eBay to cover basic disputes? What was the quality of the product? And if you are like a elance or freelancer.com, Upwork, there are constant disputes in between parties. So if you have some time, you can make some extra profit being an arbitrator and handle these disputes. So this is a very reputable team, but enough of the shill. I'm just doing some work with them. And but potentially one of my most successful ICO bounty campaigns was the token Pundi X.
Pundi X is awesome.
Yeah, that was probably my biggest homeway run. That just by posting on Twitter and Bitcoin Talk forum, I've received a substantial number of tokens, and I regret that sometimes strike while the iron is hot, pedal to the metal, right? I did it as my single account, so then I started farming my second account. And now, as I think about it, I should actually have like a whole social media ghost army to maximize the profits.
So you found a way to earn shitcoins rather than buy them with your Bitcoin.
Yes, that was it. There were plenty of bounty campaigns. Sometimes you see this pie chart. This is the founders, this is the team, this is the advisors, this is the phase one, phase two, and usually there was like a 2% pool for all the marketing shilling contributors. So I would say that I was receiving maybe one thousandth of this 2%. So if you do the numbers, it was usually $500 each. And some of these ICOs were complete crap. So sometimes it was like
pretty much all of them.
Yes, exactly. And also the payments were crap. I would say that out of 10, 2 were complete scams, and they did not complete, and 2 went out of business immediately. Maybe 5 paid, maybe $10, $20, some very small amount. 2 were actually, good, 200, 300, and 1 was just like a PundX, loads of tokens and loads of value. So for me, it was a game of numbers, and I will quickly check if my domain is still alive. I had a domain called ICOFOMO.com. I was trying to search a good domain like ICO News, ICO Reviews, ICO Insider, but I thought that ICO FOMO is the best name.
It's too ahead of the curve. It's the best name for 5 years from now. It's too early of a terminology for the average person to even Google FOMO, but it will be ubiquitous to like the word swag is ubiquitous to apparel. Like, yo, this is swag, right? It's apparel. it's an accessory or whatever. Like FOMO will be ubiquitous to Bitcoin because of all, I believe, the inevitable bull runs and around the cup and handles, the Bitcoin mining and the halvenings and the difficulty adjustments. All these, it kind of has a natural FOMO creating event built into the blockchain, So yeah,
Uh,
you're just ahead of the curve by 5 years, my friend. But
I
it
know.
does it does segue us to the next topic where I wanted to talk about hodling, and it sounds like you hodled all your shitcoins instead of
Um,
selling them.
it
So what
was
is
it
your
was not.
thoughts? What are your thoughts on hodling now?
Trend is your friend. Trend is your friend. Have the stop loss, take profits, know that the markets are cyclical, know that people very often operate on the emotions, and know that to go with your money 10x, 10x is actually a very good return of investment. You don't have to reach 100x each time. Just take some profits, have the stop loss. Uh, I mean, so many lessons. Like, I'm sorry, I just cannot explain all these emotional states and all these lessons because I've made every mistake a couple of times. And now I am a little bit wiser. Chances are I will still repeat some of these mistakes, but at least I've learned something. At least I've learned something, and with the next cycle, I will be much better prepared. I will have a much better headspace. I will have a much better money management habits. And as a second ago, you mentioned Bitcoin and the FOMO and the cycles and the halvings. I have a theory that the smartest people on the planet are either working in artificial intelligence, machine learning, self-driving cars, SpaceX, and
I
maybe
thought all the smartest people in the world were working on boner pills and hair loss treatment.
longevity, maybe medical sciences. Yeah, it is possible, but people who work in the cryptocurrency space, they are also in this category. Like to be a Bitcoin core developer and to understand this code base, it is a very sophisticated project. Like the
Doesn't
amount
that
of
doesn't that create a little bit of censorship? Just a little bit, right? That like Bitcoin is censored by its border to entry of high intellectual understanding. In order to truly be your own bank, you would have to know how to code Bitcoin core code and not depend on anybody else but yourself to do your own research and build your own, wallet. So it's like I feel like Bitcoin is so overpowered that it's contradictory to its own nature. It's almost Bitcoin's almost hypocritical to itself.
I think that this is a systematic problem, there are multiple ways people in the industry try to address it. There is the Jimmy Song programming blockchain course.
Perfect.
Jack Dorsey from Twitter is wants to fund some full-time Bitcoin developers paid in Bitcoin. So there are many ways to get into development. But this is the nature of the reality. If this is an IT project that was in production for 10 years with a lot of C++ code and some optimization, this is by nature, it is difficult. Back in the day, I tried to compile the Chromium from source, and it took me quite a lot of effort to fetch all the dependencies, install all the software, all the things. And at some point, I'm realizing, okay, I'm not this hardcore low-level guy. I can build on top of that. I can build on top of a Bitcoin protocol, and I can build on top of the Chromium browser engine. And I just have a trust that there are people who are more qualified than me. And I also have the belief that financial incentives are organized in a way that actually someone is reviewing this code, someone is testing the release candidate versions on the mainnet, on the testnet.
You're
So
describing voluntarism.
yeah, and this is an amazing satisfaction to work on this type of project. Like, what is the economy of the open source, or economy of Wikipedia? People are driven by finances up to a certain amount, and after you have a certain quality of life, the extra 10% pay rise is not making you any happier.
Yep.
That at this hierarchy of needs, people seek self-fulfillment, and for someone, uh, making sure Wikipedia is up to date and provides accurate information is a very rewarding experience. And also to test, drive, and work on the open source code, it is also a very rewarding and noble experience.
No, you're right. It is. I mean, a lot of people are, asking me like, "Oh, how do you, go all in on Bitcoin? How do you do it?" And it's like, it sucks. It's not easy. It's been a bear market, obviously, and I'm not a super big fan of stable coins. Even the concept of a stable coin, I just don't believe in that concept. So I just believe in Bitcoin, and it makes it easier to weather a bear market when you're maybe losing a fight financially, but you're starving out the fiat enemy. You know what I mean? And it just feels good to be a part of this community, to know that like this is a major role, contributing in any way. Like Bitcoin's all in consuming. You could be a developer like yourself or a content creator like mine, and you just get in where you fit in and can just contribute to the renaissance. But I wanted to ask, you were a developer, you were talking about working with, the Chrome and stuff like that. And what was it like to learn how to code Solidity after being like what I would say a legacy developer?
Okay, back in a day, 2017, there were not that many resources available, and every single developer who knew anything was working 3 jobs and 17 hours days. And now there is so much, the barrier of entry is easier because there is way more resources. It is easier to get started. But I wish I had a mentor or someone who was hand holding me, because the amount of like, why is it not working, some obsolete error messages, and it was like the Solidity was updating, the traffic was updating. It took me a couple of months to get so and so proficiency, but once I understood like a full life cycle, okay, so here I can write the code, here I do some magic, here I do some other magic, here I do some yet another magic, and the moment I was able to do the full circle, I had all the building blocks, and then I was able to fully understand what's going on. So that was a empowering experience. It was like a reminder that, hey, we have neuroplasticity. Us as a humans, we can learn new skills. Is it a dance? Is it a Chinese? Is it some lessons, guitar lessons? Human brain has an amazing potential, and learning a new programming languages, absolutely yes. I felt very proud, and yeah, right now I'm still using these skills I have.
Uh, at risk of forcing you to brag, how many different languages do you know, code and linguistic?
And not many, absolutely not many. One one mother tongue from Central Europe, where I'm coming from, JavaScript, because this is the language of the web, and that's the ones that are fluent and proficient. And I'm not that smart. I'm just sometimes right place, right time. This
Same.
state, peak energy, and sometimes showing up is 80% of success.
Yeah, it's actually 100% of the hardest part of the day is getting out of bed and just putting in that effort, and just being able to be in that right place, to get out and about and do that. And yeah, man, you're right. And I wanted to talk a little bit more about that, Solidity, smart contracts, and I know you wanted to talk about the Ethereum name services, which is funny because the first thing when I first heard about Ethereum, and smart contracts. The DAO was actually still alive back then. The DAO. Ethereum hasn't forked into Ethereum Classic yet. Everybody was talking about smart contracts, and the only one I gave a shit about was the Ethereum name service. It was like, dude, this is so much easier than sending somebody a public address. You can send Ethereum to kenbozak.eth. Done. It's like a freaking email. That's the kind of ease of use that we need to make this mainstream kind of appealing, you know? It's like those public addresses do not appeal to the mainstream. But Ethereum name service kind of relation to your finances, totally familiar, totally appealing. So, what was it that you wanted to talk about it with the Ethereum name service? Because I know that they got a lot going on over there.
Yes, they are going to introduce the permanent registrar. That previously there were only 7 characters or more available to be registered, and soon in May there will be last year of this temporary registrar, and then they will introduce an annual rent. So there are some changes to the Ethereum name
What the
service.
hell does that mean in layman terms? That was a lot of big words.
Oh, well, yeah, sure. Mind your audience. Okay, currently you can register only names that have 7 characters or more. And this is to prevent squatting. It is to prevent some guys who registered plenty of names. And with the now there will be final year of the current rules, and there will be the migration to a new system. And I think that this is important message. I didn't know about it. You know, everyone, you know, some people sit under the rock, but my sitting under the rock is different than your sitting under the rock. Our rocks are different.
Yes.
So that's why it's good to chat and share these different developments.
You know what I think's really cool about the Ethereum name service is that if you do want to squat, there's actually a bidding process, right? So you create the Ethereum name and then it goes up for public auction and you have to outbid people for it. So it's kind of gamified. It's a little bit pay to play, but it also evens the playing field because why would you want to spend 100 Ethereum on ken.eth, right? KENN.eth. If I'm not willing to outbid you at auction, why would I be willing to later pay you more than you bought it for at auction? So it disincentivizes the whole squatting process. I really thought the Ethereum name service auction process was really interesting as well.
I'm not sure how it will be solved in this new version. Previously, you did not publicly advertise that you are placing a bid on the domain, that there was some encryption and hashes and salt that when I was registering my ENS ETH domain, it wasn't publicly advertised that there was a trace on the blockchain, but it was encrypted with my salt. And after 3 days, after my initial secret bid, there was the reveal period. So that if you know the domain, you could check if the auction is ongoing. But you know, I'm not an expert. I don't want to provide misleading information. The point is there are some changes. If you are in the crypto Ethereum blockchain space, it is now a good time to get familiar with what are the consequences and what are these little gotchas, quirks, intricacies.
So, what are you doing with MarsRobertson.com?
This is my new brand, a new identity. Like right now, we talked about cannabis, right? We talked about the cannabis and the government. I can surely envision that when crossing the borders, it is happening now. I'm pretty sure that is checking my name, and I don't want my passport name, my legal name, to be associated with such and such thoughts, because you never know. There are different countries with different jurisdictions with very different drug policy laws, and just me explaining, hey, choice, freedom, education, science, data. In some countries, saying that I am pro-choice and pro-science could be a death penalty.
Yo,
So
you're not far off. You know this is actually happening in Canada and the United States of America. If you are a Canadian citizen and you publicly own stock in cannabis companies and you're an investor, the US will deny you entry. Or, well, they could and normally do, which is insane. It's insane. Why are you. I'm not allowed to go from Canada to the United States of America because I'm the owner of a dispensary.
So that now you understand why I am much more cautious about my online identity, much more cautious about the way how I present myself in the cyberspace. That's why I've shut down my other Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. But the main reason was I wanted to reclaim my thoughts. I saw how much time I spent on the phone, scrolling left or right, up and
Yeah.
down. It was consuming my energy, and it was also giving me this false sense of proximity, that people I love, they are in my life, close to me, I'm with them, we spend physical proximity, physical time. And the online space, it was the hijacking my neurotransmitters, giving me this dopamine rush, and I've deleted my old identity, and now I created a new one, which is for the to get the message out: freedom, choice, education, science, liberty, voluntarism, and these are good values to stand by. I feel proud.
Well, while I got you on the air, I do want to say thank you for sending me that box of stickers. I have a I'm looking at it over off camera. It is probably this big of a box full of stickers that I'm going to do a giant wall mural. So I'm really excited for that. So thanks for all the stickers, man. That was really cool.
I gave you the best ones, and I just want to just mention one extra thought. There are so many ways to support the decentralization, the freedom, the movement, the voluntarism, that there are so many options. And two that came to my mind is Liberland, the small country between Serbia and Croatia, and another one is Bit Nation, that they are I actually got a passport. I got the new passport. If you allow me, can I actually show you this passport? It will take me like
Please. That
10
is
seconds.
really cool. So, I'll talk while you're gone.
Awesome.
So I actually in Portugal at the conference Anarcha Portugal, where I met Mars Robertson. We actually got to hang out and talk to the CEO and co-founders of BitNation, and they were actually married on the blockchain. And their marriage is a smart contract DAO that they renew with multi-sig agreements. It's fucking futuristic. Could you imagine, agreeing to a divorce and signing on the multi-sig, and the smart contract divides the funds accordingly? It's just ingenious. So yeah, I was telling them that we got to meet the BitNation team in Portugal, and it was really cool.
Yep.
That's a
Uh,
legal passport cover?
well, yeah, it says BitNation passports, right? I'm not sure about the
But
quality.
that wouldn't be recognized at the airport, would it?
Well, you can try, but
You can try.
I'm not sure. But it looks like a passport, and it has some security features. I will not show you my passport photo, because the whole point of protecting my identity is not to release it publicly on the internet, but
Well, that's
It
the
is.
difference between anonymous and synonymous, right?
Um, I actually don't understand. You are using a very sophisticated word. I want to separate my uh, government identity, the way how I interact with this government here, and I want to separate the identity of me promoting the freedom and liberty because that is in exact opposition from one another. One government is like play it safe, stay under the radar, don't do anything controversial, just keep a low profile. And the second one is shouting from the rooftops, freedom, liberty, decentralization. People have brains, people should have choice.
I
And
think I've
these two,
actually shouted that from rooftops before.
and I realized that it is a risky strategy. I have people in my life that I would like to protect. I don't need this extra scrutiny, and that's why now I feel much more confident having the two identities. Actually, I may have more identities. You don't know it, but the point is that hey, it's our choice. I'm doing this voluntarily, and I'm encouraging you to support these movements because people who are in this uh, freedom movement, they are amazing. This is the smartest people in the room. I'm enjoying this type of gatherings.
Yeah, well, speaking of the gatherings, a little bit off the air before we went live, you were talking a little bit about Boomfest and how you got to experience that event with a crypto community. I'm just curious, like, what was that like going to a conference that's, or a conference, an event, right? An experience that has nothing to
Mm.
do with Bitcoin, but going with such a strong crypto community?
Okay, so I should maybe add some background to the Boom Festival. I mentioned the Portugal changed their drug policy laws, and this is probably one of the biggest psychedelic gatherings on the planet, where people are in this natural heightened state of awareness, and having your group of friends, like if you go anywhere to have this crew of people you enjoy hanging out with, it was amazing community. There was a dedicated stage with like a daily themes. Like say one theme was about environment, a second day was about say spirituality, and there was the whole day about the blockchain and cryptocurrencies.
Oh,
So just
shit.
imagine we are on a festival, 50,000 people, Portugal, Summer Lake, and the whole day just talks about crypto, crowdfunding, new economical models. It
Oh, I
was,
should have been there. That's so amazing. See, to me, that has a bigger impact than a conference like Consensus in New York City with all the VCs and the suits and the brokers. And I feel like being at those events that cross pollinate synergy is where we really beget the mainstream adoption momentum.
100% because this is like a hub. It's not the echo chamber. It is
Yep,
the meeting
exactly.
point when different countries, religions, belief systems are coinciding, colliding, and um, it was absolutely incredible experience. And one of the lessons that I've got from the Boom Festival, I didn't realize that the humanity is at the risk of extinction due to nuclear weapons. I didn't realize that the US and the Soviet Union, Russia, they have like 10,000 nuclear missiles each, and it is sufficient to wipe out the life on this planet. That's why the Elon Musk, SpaceX, making humanity interplanetary species is so important. Like we need to have a backup plan.
Yeah, Mars is like the Bitcoin of humanity. We need a plan B, and it just so happens to be Mars. Yeah, yeah, no, it's definitely scary, man, to think about all that, the power does that be that have you know, and all the fucking money that has gone into it. Like those bombs ain't cheap. You know, we could have done a lot more progressive shit with that money than, you know, build a bomb. But hopefully in a society where we can actually monitor where our taxes go on a public ledger, and we can vote where our tax dollars go through a smart contract DAO. And, you know, I think, you know, in that future, people that run for office won't physically run for office. It would be people like yourself. You know, you might want to be the mayor of, or a prime minister. You know, you end up writing a code that becomes a smart contract that runs as a DAO that just does the jobs of the entity of a mayor. And now you're elected via the smart contract that you developed, and maybe there's a developer fee in the smart contract for the services that it renders in the community as a DAO. The future of
Uh,
this, you know, is inevitably beautiful. It's again, it's just, I don't know. It's like looking at the printing press and knowing that the computer's right around the corner.
you know what? I've compared Bitcoin to internet, electricity, and phone because I can intuitively visualize it. I haven't been around in 15th century. I don't fully understand what the printing press is, but my understanding is previously it was just the monks writing in Latin, and the cost of the book, cost of the knowledge was huge. But because of the printing press, the cost of the book, the cost of the knowledge, and the widespread adoption of knowledge. That is my
Not just the
understanding.
cost. No, see, that's not the bigger impact. The printing press decentralized the creation and replication of information. So before the printing press, they had the entities that be had a stronghold and censored what information would be replicated and who could create information in the form of books. Now that we had a machine that, you know, anybody could create a book and write things and mass produce and replicate, it decentralized information in a way that changed the way the world communicated. And it was just an amazingly disruptive technology, in my opinion. You know,
Uh,
much more than people give credit to, I think, sometimes.
you know, I need to carry on with my day. I would like to just start wrapping up because I know that we could talk forever. We could talk forever. Every
I
single
miss you,
and
bro. Where are you going to be at the next? Like, let people know if you're going to any events or what you got going on and where they can follow you and find you on the internet and what you got going on with yourself. Let's wrap it up.
yeah, sure. Sure. Let me just type my name into Google. What happens if you type my name into Google? Yes, there is Mars Robertson, exponential technologist, because it's not only the blockchain, the artificial intelligence, virtual reality, longevity, these are all exponential technologies. And I just don't want to do one thing. It is much, way bigger picture. So just type my name into Google because I don't want to rely on any single platform. However, Google is here to stay. I have plenty of controversial opinions, but bear with me. I actually believe in Google that they have all the knowledge, all the internet, all the data, all the emails, all the books, all the self-driving cars, all the artificial intelligence, all the laptops, all the phones, all the mobile providers, all the fiber optics. They literally own the world. And even in this whole politics, the Eric Schmidt, the previous CEO, is in this, Rothschild, Bilderberg, secret society, Illuminati, conspiracy theory. So I believe in Google. So just type my name into Google and you will find me. Like at some level, we need to establish what is the fundamental trust. Yeah, Google has won, and of course, I'm supporting privacy-oriented browsers. I'm using Tor, I'm using DuckDuckGo, I'm using various services. But on a daily basis, I just realize, okay, to fight against Google, no chance. Okay, I live with it, and I bow my supremacy to God of the planet, Google. You can find me on Google, not shilling any social media platforms. I mentioned one ICO project that I am actively involved. I'm actually spent previous couple of weeks.
Where can
Working
people find more information on the project?
I think that I will send you the links in the description. Links in the description because we were chatting at this high velocity. We were chatting about so many things, so many projects, so many concepts, books, events, proposals. I think that it deserves a proper show notes, and I will do some housekeeping. I will send you all the notes, all the information. Sometimes on the Twitter there's this description. The tweets are not of my employer, and I can tell you honestly that what I've said is not necessarily what I really think or really believe. Sometimes I weave in something controversial. Sometimes I drop some truth bombs. Sometimes I just want to, kick the hornet's nest, put the stick into these ants, and just make some, disruption. So, if you had like another 5 hours, we could go deep. But I need to carry on with my day. It was a high energy hour and something minutes. And if you like it, we should have another one in a month or two, depending on your schedule and availability.
Absolutely, man. I love that. And hey, if you're watching, guys, don't forget to go on Twitter and follow Mars X Robertson and go to marsrobertson.com to get more info. Thanks again, bro. I really appreciate your time. You go enjoy your bright sunny day in London while you still got it, all right, bro? And
Magic,
don't you
magic,
dare put a
magic.
freaking shirt on, okay? Don't you dare put a shirt on. Look at those guns. And guys, thank you for watching the live stream. Don't forget to share this on social media. Share this out there. Pound that thumbs up button. It really helps other people see the video on social media. And don't forget, most importantly, have a day.
Magic. Much love. See you later.